Hi, Dad. I thought I'd do a little Ableton tutorial for you and kind of show you some of the functions, especially um, like kind of recording something and then quantizing it or adjusting it, and as well just doing something straight from the get-go. And so using especially Ableton 12. So I'm going to bring in my piano sound here, which shouldn't take too long. Grand piano. Okay. So it's a little fast, bring it a little slower. And I think you should be able to hear that. Okay, so then in Ableton 12, in order for me to turn on the keyboard, I click this little button. And now when I press keys, it plays, whereas if this was off, it doesn't do that. I don't know if you care about that, but I do. It took me a long, anyways. So I had to play a little bit earlier. This reminds me of actually a huge advantage that I have, which is I have a Focusrite. And with the Focusrite, you're able to set it up. I don't have it here with me right now, so that there's no lag time. But there totally was lag time. And so something you might be experiencing is lag time, in which case you can borrow my Focusrite or you can get a different external audio interface, and that could really help you record from the piano. Because if there'd be no lag then, I don't know if that's an issue that you're facing. Yeah, so I kind of, at the beginning, I was kind of like, what's going on? And then I realized, and I was able to kind of internalize jumping ahead. Like, I feel like I've practiced that. Anyways, so in order to quantize this, we click, so we can click here on our Midi, and then we can click within the Midi box, and then we can say Control-Shift-U. Ooh. And this is a little different than the old one, but here this little quantized box popped up. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 16th notes, and I'm going to say transform, and we're just going to see how that goes. Okay, so I really lucked out with these three, not so much with this first one. And so that was really lucky for me. But say it wasn't good or I didn't want to do that, I just Control Z, goes back to this sort of thing. And there's a few different things that I can do just to manually what's going on? Something's happening. Sometimes it just takes a second. I'm going to save this as something Untitled 1.1. All right. Grandma's this. I unfortunately have damaged this mouse a little bit, so I think I'm experiencing. But so I'm doing all of this dragging, and so you're able to actually drag this and make more room for your MIDI notes. And as well, like I think I've shown you at least once, over here, you can click and then move right or left, and to the left kind of makes it smaller, and to the right makes it bigger. And so, and then the same thing up here, but instead of right or left, it's up or down. And so, yeah, I sure miss having a mouse that I didn't mess with. Okay, so I'm going to start using my touchpad because that's going to be a little more effective. Okay. And so right now, just focus on this first little beat. So da 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 da. Say I happen to know and intellectually get that first part is the and of one. Which it is. But say I see these 4 16th notes and I'm a little confused as to where that would be. What I can do is I can right click, and right now it's showing 16th notes, but I can set this fixed grid to 8th notes. And then with 8th notes, it's a little easier to see, okay, there's the 8th note start. And so there's a few different ways that I can snap this note over here. I believe there is a snap default. So if I drag this, at a certain point, it kind of snaps in, and you'll see Control 4 apparently is the shortcut for snap to grid. And so what that'll do is if I'm dragging stuff around, you can see at this point it kind of starts snapping. And so in that case, it snapped. If I don't want to do that, I can just manually try to get as close as I can or whatever. But there's some other things, in addition to dragging, what I can do is just press my left arrow button, and apparently it'll even snap to the exact amount that it was off. Anyways, so I say I do that. And so now this is good, but when MuseScore sees this, they're going to add a staccato or a 16th note or an 8th note rest, and it's going to get all messy. So how do we make this note longer? Well, there's 2 ways. We can click and drag, and since we're still snap to grid, at a certain point it starts snapping, and it'll snap exactly to the end. But there's also another way, Control Z, to get back here. If I hold my left hand down on Shift and then press my right arrow key, it'll actually extend that note. And you see I can extend it longer or shorter. And then, of course, if I want to change notes, I can do that. And if I want to hear what note that is, I can click this little thing up here. And now as I drag it from different notes, I'm going to hear which pitch it is. And so then one thing I discussed was that Ableton 12 has a feature where it can scale stuff. It can put stuff into your scale. So the way that works is over here it says scale C. And this happens to be in C. I recorded it in C. And C is the default. But if your scale was something else, you would want to change this to whatever scale you're going to want it to snap to. Because then when you click this button up here, scale, boom, all of those little accidentals are gone. And so now your only options are those notes. And if you want to have an accidental, you can add an accidental. Accidental being something outside of the... And then when you press scale, it'll just have like kind of a unique place still for that accidental. But in order to get to adding that accidental, you would have to undo the scale thing for at least a moment. And so to just kind of show you some of these methods, here, I'm going to do it with my mouse. Maybe. No, I'm going to do it with my touchpad. So they're there and snap. And they're there and snap. And they're there and snap. And so this can seem a little mundane, but it's kind of like farm. Ooh, okay. And so here's that 16th note syncopation. And so I'm going to put back the 16th note here. And I want that to be there. And I can drag this to the start. Or I can just snap it to the start and then drag the end. Either way works. And then I believe this is an 8th note, which if an 8th note is right in between 4 16th notes, you can kind of see it. Okay, so there's doing it manually with the mouse. Now let me show you doing it. Oh gosh, I sure changed that note a lot. Just with the keys. So just with the keys, right? I can select it, left click, shift. Here in right key, select this one, and I can do that, or I can, now if I hold shift, it's going to shorten or lengthen it. So what I have to do is not hold shift, but just hold it to the right, and then shift, right, right, and that's going to lengthen it out. And same thing here, and same thing here. Okay, and here's our 16th moment. So here, that, and then we want this to be over there. Perfect. And so it definitely helps knowing and internalizing stuff, but like if you're not sure which rhythm it is, I feel like try the note that you think it is, but then try the note that you definitely think it's not. Because I'll find a lot of times I'll think it's one note, but it's actually the entire other note that was like the issue or whatever. And so as far as more ways, those are all of our two manually adjusting ways, pretty much. There's with the mouse and there's with the keyboard. As far as drawing the notes manually just from scratch, there's some pretty cool stuff that I can show you. So first of all, say there's this thing where if you double click, it's going to create a note. And so oftentimes, just out of ease, I'll just do that. Now there is, when I press B, here's a draw tool. And that'll just like draw notes all sorts of ways. And, but before that, I just want to show you this double click method. Da, 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 da. And here's that 16th note. So I'm going to bring back the 16th note grid. Da, 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 da. And so you can see there I use the keyboard to adjust the pitches a little. There you go. And so then that's that. And then as far as with the draw tool, like here you can see these are all 16th notes. So what I do is I like to go like 8th note. I'll go, okay, back to my, I'll go like 8th note. And I'm still so used not to having a scale, but let me show you with the scale because it honestly would make it so much easier for like anyone. Da, da. Was it? Da, da, da. And here's where that 16th note is. So then da, 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 da. And then if I want to make that longer, I can do that or any of the things. And then you see. And if I want to make that longer, I can make it, you know, for longer. So there you go. There's a little Ableton Midi tutorial for you. Thanks, Dad. Bye.